Tell me, would you support an election system for class president where the wackiest kids in school get to select who's on the ballot? You end up having to choose between the stoner candidate and the neo-Nazi candidate. The popular best students in the class have to get approval from these wacky kids in order to even get on the ballot. If they're not picked and argue they should be on the ballot because most normal students support them, they're told, "You're a sore loser." Well, that's what happens in US election system. Often less than 20% of voters vote in primaries. If you have a lot of candidates, the winner may need only, say, 20% of that 20% who do vote. 20% of 20% is 4% of the voters deciding the candidate. And that excludes the other party and the independents. So less than 2% of all voters can decide who we are allowed to vote for. But wait, if most people prefer someone else, surely they could run as an independent in the general election, right? Nope. As if being denied a party label and party funding weren't enough hurdles, 47 states actually have sore loser laws that prevent a loser in a primary from running in the general election. Sometimes these laws sneakily hide their purpose, simply requiring registration for the general election before the primary date. Ever wonder why Joe Lieberman is an independent? He was a Democrat until he was primaried, then ran as an independent and won. He was fortunate to be in Connecticut, one of 3 states without a sore loser law. The sore loser laws were enacted by Republicans and Democrats to maintain party control of the candidates. But I submit that the primary system and sore loser laws not only deprive voters of good candidates, it has backfired on the parties. Incumbents are primaried out by a radical challenger who may not even adhere to the party platform. Then they are kept from running as independent by the sore loser laws. While attacking incumbents in primaries is an old practice, what is new is the funding of these challenges by out-of-state money and ideological groups. Recent years have seen many of the last remaining moderates retiring after being ousted by a radical in the primary or in anticipation of such an unwinnable primary. This has mainly happened to Republican moderates, but is also happening to Democrat moderates. For example, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez suggested that Democrats who vote with Republicans are putting themselves on a list for primary challenges. The moderates are being hunted to extinction. The system has had the unintended consequence of forcing the reds and blues in Congress to be much more partisan than the American people. You may ask, what is the problem with being partisan, of not compromising and fighting for your ideals? Well, when you go for all or nothing, you usually get nothing. And even if you beat the odds and are successful, the other party normally wins the next election and reverses whatever you did. Wonder what the recipe for gridlock is? Design a system with checks and balances that requires compromise to pass anything, then elect a bunch of hyper-partisan non-compromisers. That's what we have with our primary system and sore loser laws under a constitution with checks and balances. So how do we fix this? Open primaries and ranked choice voting. Open primaries force candidates to appeal to all voters, not just extreme partisans. Allowing the, say, top 5 vote getters to go to the general election ensures a candidate for each party and gives us more choices. With ranked choice voting, voters also rank their second and third, etc. choices. If no one has a majority, there's an instant runoff. The candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated, and the second choice votes of the voters for that candidate are counted, giving a winner with a majority that supports them, either as their first choice or their second choice. Thus, candidates must broadly appeal to the majority of voters to get second place votes, rather than a divisive appeal to a very small minority of partisans. Now, each state can change the election rules under the Constitution. Some already have. Alaska has adopted open primaries and ranked choice voting in 2020. Maine adopted ranked choice voting in 2016. Maybe your state will be next.